just get a new link. That sound is annoying, but as soon as I tighten the skewer, it will be gone. Copy link. We're back. 1 second. We're back. 1 second. So I'll tighten these up. Make sure that it's not the skewer, or that it is the skewer. Yo. Cool stuff, man. I gotcha. And we are back. This is better. Just on data now. Whatever. I don't need to see Zwift numbers. We're still barking. When I go outside, I'll see what that is. I think it's just the skewer is not liking its position. Or maybe it's just, hold on. I think it's just the trainer. It's kind of rocking a bit back and forth. It's only when I go down on my left. Okay, it's alright. Whatever. He'll be fine. As soon as I get outside, it'll be fine. Anyways, what was I saying? So, the game plan, the way out is just kind of gradual uphill the whole way. And it looks like today, actually, despite what the forecast was showing all week, it is going to be a headwind as well. So it's coming from the north. And so downhill, tailwind way back. And so the game plan for the race is going to basically be, so initially I'll say I was planning on holding about 315 to 320 for the entire race. And my goal, kind of my A goal for the race, was 47k an hour. Just based on training. The interesting thing about time trialing, it is like you get a fairly good idea of like what you're gonna do on race day based on training stuff. Like, you know, it's not like, you know, you're holding 46.5 in training and then being like, oh yeah, well, I'm hoping on race day, you know, I'm gonna hold 50. You know, it's like those are two totally different, you know, speeds, where it's like that's probably like 100-watt difference. So you do get like a really good idea of, it's like, this is what the speed is around right now at the current position. Can it be faster? 150%. There's already things like this week I was like, I wish I did this in terms of my position, or did this, because to get a little bit more speed. But the thing is right now I am set up with a lot of comfort in mind on the front end. It's aero for sure. You know, going 47 at, you know, 315 to 320. That's pretty quick for the power. But can it be faster? Yes. Can I put more power after hip surgery? I think absolutely, because like in the time trial position, the hip is not particularly happy. And so like it just kind of feels stuck at the top of the pedal stroke a bit. What was I going to say? There are things that I wish, were different, this or that, wish I had more time, blah, blah, blah. It doesn't really matter. The time or the speed and, what I'm going to get is, this is how it is. And overall, I think it's been a really good positive thing having a race back on the calendar. And, something to really work towards. And actually at the same time, I think something that is kind of reignited some things inside of me, just being like, the weakness has definitely been my biking outside. I've always been able to put huge watts out of the saddle on Zwift, with really low inertia situations. Put me on a climb outside and yeah, it'd be a good thing. But high inertia and time trial position has always been something I've struggled with to put power out. Now it makes sense, as I said, with the hip situation that, every time my knee comes up, the hip is getting impinged. And so, after surgery, will that help? Yes. But then also, I think I've taken a lot more of a better approach to things with this time trial in terms of like actually testing things on my own and using my own kind of thoughts and intuition instead of, relying on just, I'm just gonna, I get a bike fit and that's how it is. That's my position. Now it's been more me kind of taking things on and being like, no, I think I got to change this, or I could change this. And really using kind of not only my physio background, but then using my knowledge of kind of bike, like parts and everything like that, to try to think of ways to improve not only comfort and aerodynamics, which are weird saying in the same sentence, but just trying to roll through things as quick as I can here. But then also improve power. And so these are all things that I'll be taking forwards going into next year. And so as I said, 315 to 320 is kind of the ultimate goal. 47k an hour is kind of the A goal. And looking at the course yesterday, that will be difficult, but I think it's still possible. And so the way that I think I'm going to achieve it is essentially on the way out with the chip seal, because that's the thing with it. The pavement is very rough. And so on the way out, with it being rough pavement, slight uphill, and then also into a headwind, there's just no free speed. So you're going to have to work for like every single inch. And so the way out, I'm just basically taking the leash off. I'm going to go as hard as I can. And then essentially hope that not hope, but know that my fitness and my mental strength and resilience will help kind of carry me through that downhill section. And aerodynamics, and then be able to be hitting it really hard again. And so I think on the uphill sections, as I said, I'm putting zero limits, like the out section. I'm putting no limit on it. If I could do 330, it's good. If I could do 340, better. I'm going to basically just go as hard as I can on the way out, and then tuck arrow and hold a really aggressive position on the way back, using also the fact that I have a 62 tooth chainring, and so downhill tailwind will mean pretty good speed, and there'll be zero sections where I'll be just coasting down. I'll be able to kind of keep on the power the whole time reasonably well. And so I think it's going to be something like 330 on the outs, 335 maybe, and then 290 to 300 on the back, and then hit that again. And I think that will be able to hit my goal where I could do, if I could hold 40 on the out and then hold 54 on the way back, or even 55k an hour, I think for hitting my goal that would have me like right in position to do that. Like obviously that'd be 47.2 or something like that, and that's doable, I think, because yesterday on the way back I held 50, and I was at 198 watts with no skin suit on or anything. And so it's like today, skin suit on, the full bike, because there are some things that I wasn't having on the bike, no phone in my back pocket, etc., all these little marginal things, but the skin suit is a big one. That it's like, what does 290 or 300 watts get me on the way back? If 198 is getting me 50k an hour, it's like, it should be pretty fast on the way back. It's really, I think, where the race is won and lost is definitely on the way out, where it's, here, 1 second. Just need to up my power just a little bit here. Yeah, I think the way out is kind of where the race is won and lost. But that gets me to kind of the second part of this video, and we're done in 18 minutes, which is, and this isn't really a full warm-up, this is just an easy spin to kind of work the wax into the chain, and then I'll do my proper warm-up once I get to the race, which it's going to be interesting because, like, everyone goes off in 30-second intervals, and so I will say I'm a little concerned about congestion, because it's like, while it's a small field, between all the groups that are going, like, the Masters A, B, C, D, U19, U23, Elite, I'm in the Elite, between all of them, I think there are 68 racers, and so 68 people, though, are all going off within like an hour. Like, we have, like, all 8 between the U23 and the Elite men, we all go off within 3.5 minutes of one another. And so it's like, I am a little worried that there's going to be too much jostling in terms of, is there going to be drafting? I think so. And I'm kind of worried about, the passing that I think will inevitably be happening out there. Because even it's like, the last guy in the U19, no offense to him or anything, and he might be faster than me, who knows, but, he starts like 2 minutes ahead of me. And so it's like, that's doable, like, you can close 2 minutes. It's doable. Like, I don't know what his bike setup is, I don't know what his power is, but it's like, if he's 18, is he on, like, what's his bike, as I said, and, is he holding, what kind of power is he holding? Is he intending on going 47, right? Or is, like, 40 a good time? I don't know. In which case, you're definitely putting time into them. Now, I am the first Elite guy to go. There are 4 in the Elite. Out of the 8, I think I added it up that 5 or 6 of them are UCI Continental Pros. So it goes me, and then a guy from Toronto Pro Hustle, the UCI team, the Continental team, and then third is a guy from Legion of Los Angeles, who is another UCI team. And then fourth, I don't really know who he races on. I think he's just in a club. And then me, obviously, unattached, for now. So, it's going to be me trying to hold off one and catch the other. But the guy right behind me, Zach, he's very, very strong. And so he will be hard to hold off 30 seconds, I think. But as I said, that brings me to my goals for the race, to wrap this video up. And I think it's a perfect kind of situation here where my first race back is an individual time trial. Because like an individual time trial, even though yes, in the end you get placed, ultimately at the end of the day, it's a race of you against you. And I think that's a perfect kind of representation of what the last 3 years have been, where it's been like me fighting, like me and my body being on two different pages and kind of me against me the whole time here, where, you know, if I could describe like the situation where it's like with CRPS, for example, like just imagine this has been a situation, because this is what I went through for years, where imagine yourself, you're in your house and, you know, you're starting to kind of smell smoke and the fire alarm starts going off and there's all the signs and symptoms present of a fire. Imagine at that point somebody coming to you and saying, don't worry about it, there's no fire, just go back to sleep, you know, trust it, there's no fire. Would you be able to sleep comfortably with, besides just the noise of the fire alarm, would you be able to sleep with all these signs and symptoms? Like, you can see smoke, right? And so bringing it back to CRPS, it's like I can see swelling, I can feel unbelievable pain, I can see discoloration. The thing is purple, it looks really weird. There are, as I said, it's really warm, or sometimes it was really cold, but it would be all of these signs and symptoms. You know, I got pain, I got reduced strength, there's a muscle atrophy, reduced range of motion, as I said, discoloration, swelling, etc., etc. There's all these signs and symptoms of there being an injury, of there being a problem, and yet you go get a scan, and the scan is like, yeah, no, your leg's good. You're, you know, it's this thing called CRPS. So, you know, you're good. Just trust it. It could take your weight. It's okay. And so it's like, it's really hard that at that point in time to be like, oh, okay, I guess it's okay. I guess the fact that, you know, the leg itself looks double the size of the other one, it's like, I guess it's just, you know, the body playing games. Oh well, you know, continue on. You know, I guess the fact that whenever I move my leg, you know, it feels like someone's stabbing me, I guess that again is just the body's playing some bizarre games. And so, you know, just try to, you know, put it out of your mind, go back to sleep. You know, don't stress about it. All these things. It's impossible. Or it was very difficult. And so, like, I'll say, like, for a long time, I've always kind of struggled trusting other people. Maybe too many science experiments you know, group projects in school where I ended up having to do all the work. Maybe too many of those. One too many. You know, where the group partner's like, I'll take care of this. And then they show you the next day their work and you're like, what the hell is this crap? You know, maybe too many of those over the years has led to this bit of lack of trust in other people. But nonetheless, like, throughout this whole time, this injury and this process of coming back, this was the first time ever where I stopped trusting myself. And so, like, I've always been the person that it's like, oh no, I know what I'm doing. I got this. I'll take care of this. And this process was the first time really where it was like, I don't know if my leg can take my weight, because it's agonizingly painful. And so it's like, is that normal? Like, I feel like there's something wrong in there. I feel like the scan is missing something. It has to be. This can't be normal, right? And so, as I said, going back to the time trial, the 3-year recovery process was very much a battle of me against me, and this kind of struggle between, the body throwing up these smoke signals and me trying to be like, calm down. And I would say, and I'm done in about 8 minutes, the thing that got me through is I went to see various physios, and they would get into a lot of stuff around CRPS, and to be honest, none of them really understood it, and none of them really had any actual rehab for me. They kind of, as soon as they heard CRPS, it was just like, they kind of were like, oh, okay, I don't know really what to do here, but, keep your chin up. They really weren't helpful at all. Kind of looking at it in a totally different light, and I think what really got me through it was, I was like, you know what? And I'm gonna swear for a second, but like, that's why I said not made for kids. But I looked at it and was like, okay, listen, you can call it whatever you want, CRPS, then in terms of the pelvic pain, pudendal neuralgia, whatever. I don't give a shit what it's called. Here are the signs and symptoms, and here are the limitations, and I am going to attack those limitations. And so I'm looking at it and I'm saying, okay, the leg lacks range of motion, it lacks strength, it's not moving, and so we're gonna go after all those things. We're gonna restore range of motion, passive and active. We're gonna restore strength. We're gonna strengthen the absolute shit out of the thing. In terms of movement, I am gonna move it till it's blue in the face, until it's tired. Not from, not moving like it had been, right? I want it to be tired because it was like I overworked it. I want to just beat the thing to shit, right? And make it get better. And so that's what I'm gonna do. And overall, when I get on the bike April 5th, 2024, and I start pedaling, and it feels like my leg is wrapped in barbed wire, my thing was basically like, fuck the pain. Fuck it. Fuck everything. I'm gonna just blinders on and just plow ahead. And that's it. And I don't give a shit, like, if it's hurting, don't care. I don't give any, like, if anyone's saying like, oh, it's CRPS, that could come back anytime, so like, watch it. No. I always found it interesting that people always said things like, they don't really know why CRPS happens. They don't really understand the pathophysiology too much. They don't understand why one person gets it and another one doesn't. They don't understand all these things. And yet, they would tell you with certainty, oh, well, it's like a lifelong chronic illness, chronic disorder, nerve disorder, chronic pain disorder. And it's just like, you're going to deal with it forever, kind of thing. It could kind of come back whenever. And it was just like, and it said this in research articles, like, it's a lifelong condition. And it's just like, how can you say in the same sentence that you don't know a lot about it, and at the same time, with certainty, be like, but we do know that it lasts forever. And so I'm basically like, people don't know what the hell they're talking about. I'm going to treat it for what I see, for what it is, and it's going to get better. And it did. And so, what was I saying? On Instagram, I said that putting on a bib number would be the greatest accomplishment I've ever done. And that is still true, that it took a huge amount of work to get to this point, despite me just being like, I'm just gonna plow ahead. That doesn't mean it wasn't hard. It doesn't mean that there weren't times where it was like, holy shit, like, this thing's really hurting. Are you sure that there is not like a blood clot in my leg? It does not feel good. And just plowing ahead, as I said. So there were tough times, and it was very hard. But nonetheless, today at 2:44 and 30 seconds, we go off, and this is just the beginning in the comeback. Like, it's not this one race and I'm done. This is the beginning of, this is just the start. Then we get surgery, and then next year we're fully back with a full season of racing, and who knows, possibly including some time trialing into the triathlon mix to help improve my cycling. And it has been a great process, like focusing on all these little details. It's been fun, stressful, but also fun being stressed about things in terms of my bike instead of being stressed about pain and pain tolerances and am I doing, like, what's the problem here. It was fun being stressed about something else, fun being stressed about, like, what kind of wax to use on the chain, instead of pain. And so yeah, it'll be fun, it'll be new, very different. In terms of my goals, am I wanting to win? Of course. I don't line up at races being like, yeah, no, I'm good with fourth. Like, I want to win everything that I enter. I'm a competitive person. But at the same time, getting to the start line's a win. And I'm not saying this to say, like, whatever happens doesn't matter. But I'm saying that is win number one. And then in terms of the end result, if I hit my goals in terms of power and speed, and maybe even elevate by, I'm able to go to another level by 1% or 2%, and I get to the finish line and I'm like, that's every single watt I have in my legs, then to me it's a really good day. It's a successful day. And as I said, the comeback is officially on, and whether that's first, third, fourth, whatever, it doesn't really matter to me. It's like, as long as I hit my goals and I give everything I got, there's nothing more I can do. And, it's like, I think about this whole thing, like the whole process here, saying, thinking about bikes and this and that, and it's like, when I think about how fast everything happened here, like, in May, I was getting injections on my hip, thinking I'd be racing triathlon. And then I only commit to this race like late July, because my first ride outside in 3 years was July 5th, 6 weeks ago. And it's crazy to think it feels like a lifetime ago, but like, it's only 6 weeks, only been 6 weeks. And it's like, I didn't commit to it because the first ride, while it was nice to be outside, at the same time it was also like, I can't even take my hand off the bars. Like, I am strangling them, and I can't even think about going into aero. And then there are things just in terms of my position. As soon as I set my saddle back to the UCI position, my hip flares, and it feels horrible. And I end up getting a new crank on, and that alleviated the pain instantly. But that crank didn't get on until August 8th. So it's like 2 weeks ago, Thursday, 2 weeks ago. And so it's like, there was still so much that happened in such a short period of time. And so I am very proud of how quickly I was able to put everything together and get myself here. And as I said, it's just the start, and excited, really excited to just kind of get back out there and feel a good type of pain again, a type of pain that, like, you're putting yourself into. And as I said, I'm going to put every ounce of power that I have in my legs and my body and my soul into the pedals, and whatever place that is honestly completely irrelevant. And I've told this to my athletes before too, when they've struggled. It's like, if you do your best, what else can you do? You know, like, there's nothing else that you can do. Like, do your best, and whatever it is, you know, in terms of the placing. It's like, don't obsess about, like, placing. Think about the process, commit yourself to the process, and execute to the best of your ability. And that's it. That's all you can do. And so, yeah, that's it for now. Shut things down in 45 seconds. And, yeah, it'll be an interesting day in terms of warm-ups, the proper warm-up, because it'll be I'm a little not pleased with the setup, I will say, that it's very tight to me between registration and start times. It just seems like, when are people warming up exactly? You know, like, I'm not sure, especially since you're not allowed warming up on the course too. So it's like, am I going on Highway 2? Am I pulling out my trainer right there at the start line where there's no space? That is all going to be very new. Seeing how this actually all works once we get there at about 12:30. But that's part of the fun. That's part of the, you know, being like, hey, you remember that time when we were in Coburg and, you know, we pulled out the trainer in, like, you know, a Tim Hortons parking lot or an Esso parking lot, and we did our, like, you know what I mean? Like, this is all part of the experience and the fun of racing, that every race is different. It's not a controlled situation or environment like on Zwift. It's different, and we get stories to tell forever. And remember, back on. I'll just go to 25. But yeah, so thanks for watching. Sorry that the other live stream didn't work, but I think this one actually held pretty good. The angle's not horrible. Being on top of the little mini fridge, it's good. All right. And the sound is gone. Good. So in terms of now, I'm going to sweaty. Take a shower, have 2 little packets of oatmeal, and then start kind of putting things into the car, and then go over there around noon, 12:15, and see how this is going to work exactly, because that is a big unknown here in terms of, I'm not really sure how this is all working in terms of, like, I need to do things like get my bike measured and stuff like that, in terms of the UCI, and so it's just like, I need to see, like, when am I doing that? Is that right at registration? And at that point, then how am I going from there? And then am I leaving from there to do my warm-up somewhere else? Or am I warming up right there? Ultimately, it's going to have to be one where it's just kind of rolling with the punches and kind of going with it. I think if I do wish we had some proper hill climbs around here, because even outside, that is still one thing that I do not struggle with at all. When I go out of the saddle, I'm like, I've got so much power out of the saddle, it's just crazy. Like, even yesterday, just like, there was just one little rise, and I was like, let me just go out of the saddle for a bit, and then I looked down at the watts, and I'm like, this is more like it. This is good. This is living. But, anyways, as I said, that'll get better once I get surgery and can go into the position without my hip feeling like concrete. And so I think that'll improve as well. But Anyways, what I was saying is, this will be an interesting an interesting day here, just kind of in terms of the before here, just rolling with the punches as best I can, and if it's not the perfect warm up that I had in mind, it's okay. Like, it's like everyone's gonna be in the same boat. Obviously, they have maybe a little bit more experience than me with this kind of whole rigmarole, but whatever. I just gotta go with it. And the good thing is that I've had so many different race experiences in my life that I've had ones where my warm up's been non-existent. I've had ones where I've had too long to warm up and just kind of standing there for like an hour, just getting cold and just being like, man, what am I doing here so early? And so I've had everything. Nice, nice pun. But anyways, I'm gonna get going. Now it's getting nice because now the sweat is helping cool. But anyways, that's all for now. I don't know how I don't know if this uploads to my site. I'm not sure on that yet, but we will check in after the race. And so if it's at 2:44, I should be done about 50 minutes from then, hopefully. And then get on here or Instagram or whatever. We'll figure that out once we get there. And we see kind of how this is all playing out in terms of the day. But we'll get on here or Instagram, one of the two, and we'll chat about the first race in the comeback.